Gaming MBS episode 148, recorded July 10th, 2017. Welcome to Gaming MBS, a tabletop RPG podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, folks. Glad to have you aboard. So, Sean, I haven't seen you since, yesterday, when we were at the Gaming MBS and Hubs and Friends of the OSR soiree at the Pig and Guzzle or whatever microbrewery we were at. I can't remember what it was
Pig
called.
And Guzzle.
The Pig and Guzzle. I don't know.
I don't remember the name of the place.
I honestly don't either. It was all vegetarian cuisine, and it was actually really good food. And the beer was really good, too. That was kind of nice.
Yeah, Wayne Rumrunner Humfleet made the trek down.
VC Young, Illinois native, cruised over. We had Bird, one of Hobbs' buddies, and Hobbs himself, of course, was there. So it was good.
Yeah, it was fun.
Swapped some games around, swapped a lot of lies and bullshit, and drank some beer. It was a good time.
Nobody took my
GURP
stuff, man. Yeah,
that's because you brought GURP. You brought GURP stuff. That's like you're the guy that brought the vegetable tray to the kid's birthday party. That was just a bad idea.
Here's my fruitcake, guys.
Yeah, here, I'll put that in the corner. All right.
Hey, I did get a Hobbs and the Friends of the OSR zine signed.
See, I got one. I had one I got from Sneezak when I saw him at Origins.
Oh, that's right.
So, but Hobbs like, you got to get this one. It's got a better cover. I'm like, all right, I'll take one of those.
Well, you get two?
I got two, but I didn't get either one signed. Like a dumbass, there I was in front of Scott Hubbs, the man himself, and I didn't get it signed. So,
man,
that's what I got. That's what I got. I got to get him to sign mine, Scott Hubbs, just because that's what I got to do when I see him next.
I think mine was numbered 1 of 10,000.
That's pretty good.
I know. It's crazy. The first one of the 10,000 print run, he's already out.
Nice.
It's nuts. If you're not getting it, run over to Friends of Hubs. Friends of the OSR, starring Jason Hobbs.
Well, I'll tell you what, and just to piggyback on it real quick, we do have a bonus issue of said zine, which will have the folks who had submitted all their entries to our OSR contest. I still have got some shipping to do. I've got the address to the gentleman who is the winner, and I need to get an email from the henchman and a few other things laid out, and then we'll get the goodies out to people who have so well deserved them. But enough of the past. Let's move on to the future. So,
holy cow!
Whoa, hey,
yeah,
it's that was then. This is now, man.
I know.
Are you
talking? You want me to cover what we're talking about right here? That's this point?
I was going to say, you jump into the announcement. Tell me about Gamehole. What do we got going there?
Holy bejesus, Brett. So I went online today. Gamehole Con, gaming convention in Madison, Wisconsin, first weekend in November. Get your ass to Gamehole Con, gameholecon.com. The event list is up. They are still taking event submissions. So if you haven't submitted your events and you're coming and you want to run a game, that's still open. I believe registration for events is August 1st. So not 3 weeks from now. The folks, Brett, am very proud of the folks that are running events under Gaming MBS.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm twice as proud. So there, I win.
God damn it. The reason, do you know why, Brett?
Well, apart from them being quality, upstanding gamers who love us as brothers, I don't know what else. What else have they done that's so amazing?
The diversity of games. This is not cool. 5e land here.
No, it is not.
I'll give you an example. So Jason Hobbs of that OSR podcast is running BX D&D. Christopher Sneezak of Misdirected Marketing and Coded Designs fame is running Dungeon World.
Mm-hmm.
That's like his game, so he's top notch.
He's good. I have played Dungeon World with him. He is good.
Yeah. Michael Drescher is running a couple games of Fate Accelerated.
Drescher's been pulling the Fate thing out on Facebook and Twitter lately. He's going crazy on that.
Yeah. Forrest DeGary, local friend of the show and friend of ours, is running DCC. He also hosts Glowburn podcast. Yep. Corey Wynn, northern Wisconsin native, is running 5e. VC Young is running the 6-6 system. The Brett is running the World of Darkness, assuming he's going to be there in 5e.
Correct.
I'm going to be running Savage Worlds. I may be running Tales from the Loop. I haven't submitted it yet, but I may run it off grid just because that way I'll set it aside, and if people have time during a particular, because I don't know my schedule yet, I'll throw it out there in advance as soon as I do, and then I'll just kind of let the Gaming and BS kind of crew, if they want to sign up for that game, I'll run it off the grid. But Jason Rather out of Minnesota is running Achtung Cthulhu and some DCC. Eric Farmer, Madisonian, is running Apocalypse World. And then he's also doing kind of a play test of his own game. It's called Dogs in Hats Solving Crimes.
I kind of want to play that game. I totally want to play that game.
Not dogs solving crimes. Dogs in hats solving crimes.
So if I don't get in on it at Gamehole Con because of scheduling issues, what we're going to have to do is just get Farmer to run it for us as a one-off. We're going to have to do that.
Yes. So we want to fill all those. And then running, still continuing on, we're not done yet. Kevin Lovecraft is running Call of Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a little nervous.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
If anybody knows Call of Cthulhu, it would be Kevin.
Yeah, it'll be great. Dave Beatty from South Carolina is coming up to run Dark Trails.
Yeah, and I taunted him. My World of Darkness game is Wraith. So I told him, if you show up, I'm going to run Wraith. So he said he's coming. So there we go.
And then Eli Kurtz, of course, is going to be running Savage Worlds, I'm guessing, because he just got done with his Kickstarter.
Yeah, if he doesn't run a Blackmore game, I'll tear up. So I'm assuming he's running a Blackmore game, so we'll see.
Right.
But yeah,
the Blackwood. The Blackwood.
Blackwood. I said Blackmore. My bad. Blackwood.
The Blackwood.
Blackmore.
Another guy.
Totally different guy. Not as good. Eli's better. There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Eli.
So my point is that lots of different games in there. So if you want to, we want to fill them all up, so just the search on the gaming or the Gamehole Con website could be, I got to talk to Alex, because if you search for gaming and BS, you're only going to get 10 results. But if you search by name, I think a lot of those will come up. So if you put in, Eric with a K, Farmer, it'll come up. Whatever you put in gaming and BS, it just doesn't come up with all the results of all the games. So that's all I got to say about that. Thank you, everybody that has submitted games and has offered to run games. We very much appreciate it. If you're still interested, we will take that. Absolutely. We will not, we're not shutting anything down. So if you're willing to submit games and run them under our banner, we would be very appreciative.
Absolutely. We've got, what do we have? Probably like 3 tables, which are set aside for us. Now, one of the things that we wanted to make sure, just to be clear to everybody, we wanted to work with Josh and the Gamehole crew to try to get as many of the games under our banner at those they're not private per se, but there's little segregated tables, which are really nice because it's a little bit nicer to be there and sometimes instead of the larger opener areas. However, we also don't want to completely fuck people who are like, look, I really want to run a game for you guys, but I got to run it on Saturday at X time so I can get to this other really kick-ass event I want a game in. That may mean that I could end up getting punted to a different table or something like that, which is fine. It doesn't matter. It's great from Sean and my perspective that you're just running a game under our banner. It's just awesome. But just a heads up that we wanted to make sure that everybody was able to run the games at the time they wanted, knowing full well that you gamers are going to want to not only run kick-ass games, but go play some kick-ass games as well. So we're trying to do a solid for everybody all around. So thank you.
We'll get you a little token of appreciation, of course.
Absolutely. Have to do that.
Yep. Brett, you got something to say?
Yeah, so we've been teasing it for a while. The Streets of Avalon actual play that I did with Kevin Lovecraft, Christine Zek, of course, Emily, and Tom. Emily from She's a Super Geek, and Tom Flanagan from Nights of the Night. did that. We've been cranking through some of the write-up work for the Avalon setting itself. I've been working on that with Chris for a while now, and I don't know exactly how close we are to the Kickstarter, but we definitely are going to have one to get the book done. We're not doing the... Well, thank you. The point is not to have some crazy astronomical $100,000. It's going to be in the lower range of Kickstarters. We want to keep it simple. I want to produce a book. I want it to be the best one we can get. Money goes into art and layout and just making it look really cool. Super sexy.
Brett's looking to retire off this thing. So $1 million funding level.
Yeah, and once my wife finds that out, she'll leave me. So I'll be looking for a place to stay shortly after. Anyway, point being that it's coming. Once I have more details, I'll let you all know. But I'm pretty proud of it. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with it. So it's kind of cool.
Hey, just a suggestion. I think at certain levels, you should allow people to have an NPC in the Streets of Avalon setting.
That's not a bad idea. I like that idea.
Streets of Bedlam, Jason Blair did it, and there's one cool NPC in that frickin' setting.
Isn't that Sean the Recruiter Kelly? Isn't that
It is.
I heard about that guy.
I don't know if there's any relation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty freaking cool when you get to like submit your own kind of character write-up and concept and what the motivation in and what the NPC's about.
That could be some cool stuff, man. I like that.
That would be very cool stuff, man.
Great. Now you had a good idea. I got to use it.
I know, but
anyway.
talk about owning a part of that setting.
Well, that's the cool thing, right? I mean, I was talking with VC and just the map he did for Sean and I, the Gaming BS map. If you haven't seen it, it's fucking awesome. Anyway, there is something really cool about that being part of it, which is the super sexy, as Brett is prone to say, portion of a small pressy Kickstarter like this is that you have a chance to be a part of something like that. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, I'm stoked about it. I just need Mr. Sneezak and I and the rest of the crew have not pounded out all the final details. I think we have a little something I'll pass out to some of the patrons of the Gaming BS show. So patrons may see something coming out in a little bit here as a taste of. So hopefully that'll be happening. But anyway, looking forward to it, and I hope people are interested. So it's the coolest thing when you create something, as I know Eli and Eli Kurtz will tell you, and even Eloy La Santa, who's done a ton of different Kickstarters, it's just a giddy feeling that if you make something and people like it. So that's kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah.
There we go.
It'll be fantastic.
It will be.
We want to thank everybody that's bought t-shirts. As of this recording, the sale will be over, but I'm going to promote sales more often. We use a third party by the name of Spreadshirt, or, take it for what it's worth, the model. But whenever they have like, hey, there's going to be a sale through these days, I'm going to start informing people of those so that they could take advantage of discounted Gaming and BS swag on the store. So it's sweatshirts and t-shirts primarily, no cups and mugs or anything like that at the moment. But I think they had a 20% off, and I passed it along and gave a discount code out. So for those of you that have taken advantage of that, thank you very much. And when you get your swag, take a picture of it and say, hey, look at this, because we want to see how they fit.
We do. Before I buy one, I want you guys to buy it. No, I'm kidding.
We don't even know what the color looks like. I don't know.
The other thing Sean and I were talking about when we were at the Pig and Guzzle, or wherever the hell we were with Hobbs, if you guys have an idea for a shirt, I mean, we try to grab, we're thinking about like little soundbite type of things that like super sexy or shit that I say or that Sean says all the time. Maybe there's something we're just not thinking of because we're two morons out of Wisconsin. So if you've got a good idea or a picture or a graphic or anything you think would be kind of cool, feel free to pitch it to us. We are not above taking your really cool ideas and putting them on a shirt for other people to buy.
If there is an artist out there, one idea I came up with, I am not a graphic artist, as you could tell by our album art. But one of the things I can say is Zip Zaps, I would love a t-shirt that kind of does it as a mock-up of like a 70s or 80s kind of zigzags, but it says Zip Zaps on it.
Yes, and then like a bunch of dice being powdered up and rolled into a...
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Like you put your dice in there and roll it up in a zip zap and you freaking smoke it or whatever. If you have the graphic ability of doing that and we put it on a shirt, I have no problem passing along what you would charge. I mean, if it's a reasonable, like if you want to send me a quote like, hey, I can do it and it's going to cost whatever, let me know. And if we can make that happen, I have no problem paying for the design and putting it up there, and we can work out the rights behind that. I would love nothing more than to make it a little more graphical and put it out there. But I put it out to the community. If you like Brett said, if you have an idea for a shirt, you would like to see it on there. I mean, if it's text, I can do that, no problem. Put it out there and just put it on there and sell it, whatever. And maybe even put your name to it. I don't know, but let us know. We would love nothing more to do that. And we would love your ideas and suggestions because I'm sure they're going to be very creative.
Yeah. Yes, they will. Some of them probably will not actually be printable on a shirt because of legal reasons, but I'm sure if nothing else, I'll get a good giggle reading them. So
yeah, no copyright shit. We can't do that crap, and don't get us thrown in jail or something. I don't know.
Not again.
Not again. Freedom of speech, I guess. But still, we are explicit, but we also want to be somewhat tasteful.
Fuck yeah.
Well, we don't want to be distasteful.
No,
We'll just put the bar there.
Yeah, although... Anyway, let's go on to random encounter.
Random encounter. All right, random encounter. So we've got some feedback regarding mass combat. So we've got Angela, we've got Wayne, Jared Rasher, Gabe, and then I think we get into, Carlin mentioned something, and then I've got a couple voicemails. So you want to start, Brett, or you want me to start?
You betcha. I got her running here. So Angela Miss Murray says, hey, Brett and Sean, just wanted to chime in on mass combat. I'm not a very crunchy player, so the few times I've seen mass combat attempted, it's pretty much a disaster.
Well, wait a minute. Is Angela crunchy?
She's not a very crunchy player.
She's not a crunchy player. I think I have to like a bite of Angela to find out.
I've gotten many hugs from Angela because I've had the pleasure of meeting her, and she's a nice person.
So she is not crunchy.
She is not crunchy and mean. No, she's very nice.
Very nice, great, excellent,
and well versed in gaming, and a hell of a player. I will tell you what. So.
Totally awkward. I'm sure she's gonna hear me like, "What the fuck is Sean talking about?"
Yeah, you're gonna get hit in the face with a bag of like crunchy rice one of these days or something. That's what's gonna happen.
That's right. I'll give you a crunchy asshole.
That's right.
All right. I'm sorry. Anyway. Sorry. Yeah, we're moving on. We're never going to get done with this.
Moving on. The prime example that Angela says.
We're running extended.
We're running extended, not long.
We're running extended, not long. That's copyrighted.
It's a bonus show. It comes to mind was the last time I played in this one awful GM's campaign. I could tell you so many stories about this guy, but this was the last straw for me. I don't remember the reason for the massive battle, but the players pretty much had an hour plus between turns as the GM rolled individually for every single NPC involved in the combat on both sides of the battle. Whew! I got to know the other players pretty well as we chatted about many things, none of which were about the game we were playing. Well, the GM literally played with himself. Come on, Gus. Where are you, Gus?
Hey, Gus, where are you?
Attaboy. So he goes on to say, that was the last straw for me. Luckily, the other good players felt the same way, and we all defected to form our own group. They're the foundation of the group I still play with today. On a slightly more constructive note, running many narrative games has taught me that you don't necessarily need to treat mass combat as a miniatures war game. You can treat the array of forces on both sides of a battle as narrative elements, describing things in broad strokes, but focus on what's important to the PCs. Is this a matter of getting face-to-face with the leader of the enemy forces, breaking through their line to let a squad of elite operatives into enemy territory? Treat the battlefield as a narrative obstacle that has to be role-played / narrated past. When you see a battle scene in a movie, we rarely get to see what's happening with every platoon or squad. We focus on the protagonist or protagonists, what's happening with them. Let the rest of it be flavor that's described in the background. Never let the players forget that they're in a massive battle, but don't feel like you need to play it all out. And unless, of course, that's what you and your group of players are looking for. I'm a firm believer that narrative techniques can be used in traditional games to give the game and story everyone is looking for without bogging the game down in mechanics that may not be fun for everyone. I'm not someone who wants to play a war game, but I'm sure as hell game for a PC taking part in epic battle like Helm's Deep. Ange. That's good stuff. I like the, that was a thing I think Sean and I were trying to get to, but of course our listeners are much more erudite and exacting and to the point than we are. Treating it like a narrative obstacle. I love that statement. Treat the battlefield as a narrative obstacle that has to be role-played / narrated past. I like that. Treating it like a narrative obstacle. I love it. Thank you, Ange. That's good stuff. Good
yes.
Catchphrase there. Nice.
Glad she wrote in. Thank you, Ange. We haven't heard from you for a while. So, Wayne Dryden continues and comments on Google Plus. Hey, BSers, I just finished the Mass Combat podcast. Great show. Thought I would throw my 2 cents in. I should start by saying we play in a gaming store, so outside of our room, there are about 3 or 4 wargaming tables, and the store is so kind to offer terrain and buildings for everyone to use. Shout out to Game Chamber, thegamechamber.com in London. All right, sweet. Go there if you're in London. I agree. Mass combat should be pretty pivotal in the story in order to be effective. PCs need to care about the outcome. I run a mashup space game called Star Trek Serenity. Ooh.
Nice.
We have had some unit warfare, and I plan on including some large space battles as well. In our game, the Klingon prince was at the bar when his father was killed at his estate in a bid to take over the clan. One half-drunk speech from atop a horse, and we had an alien, human Trill Andorian, etc., and Klingon force battling an entrenched insurgents. It was glorious. I hate when combat takes too long. I want my combat to be fast-ish, so I used a mix of homebrew and free online unit combat rules to get it done efficiently, and it worked well. Whatever the rules, I make sure that a PC in a unit makes that unit more effective and that the PC is always the last to go down in that unit.
That's an
Awesome.
interesting thing just from an inclusion perspective, Wayne, is that concept of making sure the PCs make the unit more kick-ass, and the PC would be the last man or woman standing at the end. Because nothing would suck worse than, Wonder Woman out there in front of a bunch of buck privates, and she dies, and there's just a bunch of buck privates sitting there. I mean, that just sucks. It's much more fun to be the last warrior standing, or the one holding the flag, or rallying your troops, and so on. So I think that's pretty cool. It ties a little bit into, it's a little bit more mechanical, the way Wayne was explaining it with the homebrew rules for unit combat and so on, but that keep the PCs the super cool thing in the unit and make sure that they're the last one to go down in the unit is a bit of the narrative twist that Angela brought up. So I think that's good stuff. All right. Jared Rasher, when you talked about resolving a battle of having the PCs act as skirmishers fighting in this engagement or another, and extrapolating their successes to an overall outcome, reminds me of the victory point system in Heroes of Battle for 3rd edition. The nice thing about the system is that it isn't dependent on the 3-5 rules, so it's still relevant now. Essentially, you create 4 levels of outcomes, and depending on the percentage of available victory points their actions accrue, the PCs get 1 of 4 results. Just, you can hit that mic anytime you want, Sean.
God damn, I hit my ears right up against the microphone. Sorry about that.
Jared goes on to say, the lowest tier is they screwed up worse than things would have gone if they hadn't been there at all. The next tier is about the same as if they hadn't been there. The next tier above is a slightly better outcome than if they weren't in the battle, and the highest tier means they significantly turn the tide of the battle. The downside is that because of the way the information is formatted and inexplicably scattered across 2 separate chapters, you have to dig a little to figure out how the system actually works. I have no idea why it was set up the way it was. Adds to the quote-unquote complicated fight that wasn't quite a mass combat encounter that I've run. I'm sure I did plenty of crazy shit I don't remember in high school, but in adult years that I can actually remember, I ran a force of about 25 to 30 opponents versus 6 13th level characters in 3.5. And those 25 to 30 individuals had about 4 distinct troop types: wizard, dragon, elementals, and troops. That fight happened at the end of a multi-year campaign. We all knew it was the final fight of the campaign. The session itself was over 8 hours long, and that fight took at least half that time. Not something I would have done often, but it seemed like a suitable ending to that campaign. And I like the idea of the victory point system. I may have to look that up. That's kind of a cool mechanical twist to add to even the cool narrative stuff that Angela's talking about. But I tell you something you got in here, Jared, that I really like was this concept of, it happened at the end of a multi-year campaign. It felt like it was suitable. If everybody there for that big-ass 8-hour session, a huge 4-hour brawl, was like, wow, that was really cool. If you set that type of thing up and everybody's waiting for that to happen, they come in waiting for that to happen. They want that to happen. It's a really good kind of table stakes type of, almost discussion setup where everyone at the table is agreeing, gamer social contract. We're going to have a big goddamn battle here at the end. And we're all in for it. So I like that idea. Get everybody bought in. They're all ready to roll.
Gabe Dybing continues. Thanks, guys, for taking such time with my question. Jared Rasher above has a strong sense specific to my query. I want a system that is predicated on the RPG, not a separate war game, that makes the actions of the PCs matter in context of the game and the story. It seems to me that too many systems define the roles of the PCs either as war gamers, micromanaging the individual combat units, or they entirely abstract the war as background for the special ops scenarios that Brett and Sean and most of us, I assume, tend to run in our RPGs. So I guess I'm looking for ideas to blend the two approaches without resulting in the tedium resulting from too many RPG combatants that Brett mentions. Pathfinder's Ultimate Campaign perhaps tried for a solution that didn't satisfy me. And I think Axe, which is approach, might be similar.
Axe is Adventure Conqueror King. That's the system that is Mr. Hobbs' go-to love of his life.
See, look at that. Though I should probably just spend the money for the PDF and find out for sure. To get more personal, let me see. The kind of story I'm working towards in my Yggdrasil campaign, telling the story of Beowulf, will involve some large-scale Viking combat. I don't want the result of this to be contingent on one grand mission for the PCs, but on a variety of little victories, accidents, and even random twists of fate. I've looked at a war game system called Battle Troll. Battle Troll. That should be like a 1980s cartoon ad for some crazy thing.
Or an 80s power metal band. I mean, that's like...
That too.
I could see them opening for Man of War. I could see that,
Oh, totally, man.
I could be at a Man of War concert with Corey.
Wait, who's opening for him, Brett?
Battle Troll, man.
Oh, sweet, dude. I'm so there.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
I could see, all of us, Corey Wynn, of course, there in his Man of War gear, and we're like there to see him, and Battle Troll opens. That's what it is. That's awesome.
Battle Troll.
Again, this is an extended episode. Carry on.
And so, a war game system called Battle Troll, and worked at something of my own using Norse runes as a random storytelling mechanic. And here's what I'm going to try out for the large-scale combat in the Beowulf campaign. I'm sure the rules set is esoteric to most of you, but if you're all interested, we have a link in the show notes. It's called, I think he's got a Google Doc. I think he's sharing it publicly, but it's the Yogg Mass Combat. And he's probably got some details in there that he's outlined. I hope he doesn't mind us sharing that. He put it to our community, so maybe You're muted, dude. Are you muted?
Yeah, I was. Sorry there. I was actually.
It's funny when I look over and Brett's like talking in air. I wish I could record that and just put it out there.
Just put it out there. Chirp, chirp. Sean, have you?
I would just, you know what I would do? I would dub stuff over your mouth.
Stuff. La 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 la. That'd be great.
La la la. I love pink unicorns.
Stuff like that. Anyway, I've actually heard of Yggdrasil, the RPG, and I saw a copy of it. My buddy Austin. Austin Lemke, one of my game group, Kevin's son, and also just an awesome gamer in and of his own right. It's an interesting looking game. It's one of those, I like the whole Nordic myth and so on. It's come up in our show a couple times, I believe. People have mentioned it, so I think I'm going to have to go find myself a copy of that. But, anywho, Gabe, this is good stuff, man. Thank you. I think Sean and I may do, excuse me, a bit more research here, but I like what... you know what Jared Rasher brought up, and if other people, after hearing Gabe's little bit extra description of what exactly he's looking at, if other people have better ideas, feel free to throw it out in our G Plus community, Facebook community, even email it to us. We'll be happy to pass the word on to Gabe because, hey, we're gamers. We want to help each other out and make sure you've got the coolest game you can have. All right. Thank you, Gabe. Again, great topic, and thanks for writing in, man. Carlin of the Hill People, Kendrick, says, I really like the mass combat rules for Savage Worlds. Yeah, that totally makes sense, because not only you, but Eli Kurtz is a big fan of that as well, I know. Anyway, Carlin continues and says, you work with a GM to decide how many tokens each side has and apply the rules based on the token amounts. First person to lose all their token loses the mass battle. The players can still do things in the battle to help sway things, but the damage rolled is pretty much static and can be lethal, a great representation of being in the middle of a mob fight and outnumbered, even if you're the best swordsman in Fightor Town. Interesting. Sean, have you run more Savage Worlds, i.e. a lot more than I do. Have you ever used the mass combat rules yourself?
I have not. I have read them, but I have not used them.
That would actually be an interesting GameholeCon event we could do one year, is pick those games with subsystems we've never run before, and just like the challenge system, and the entire game will be about grappling or chase mechanics or something. The whole thing will be utilizing the lesser known mechanics from Yggdrasil, and just to see if anybody ever wants to try it.
Sounds fascinating, Brett.
Right, it sounded better in my head than when it came out. All right, next.
Okay, so Chris Shorb has a couple voicemails, and we'll get through Chris here. So here we go. Oh,
Chris Shorb. It is, well, I don't know what the date is, but I just listened to the skill list episode. Good episode, but I thought that I identified a gap in Brett's gaming knowledge, his RPG knowledge. There wasn't a single mention of Apocalypse Engine games. I know, Brett, maybe you've played 1 or 2 sessions of Dungeon World, but I really think you need to run some Dungeon World, a 6-session campaign or something, just to fill that gap. It's my personal opinion, but I think the Apocalypse World engine is probably one of the biggest innovations in RPGs over the past 5-10 years. And I think that's a big gap. Dungeon World doesn't have a skill list per se, but it does have the moves, and I'm just wondering, how you feel like that would resonate with players like Zave, or I can't remember if it was Zave or Beta or whoever it was who was missing the skill list. I wonder how they would react to Dungeon World where there's no skill list at all. Anyways, that's just a comment that I had. As always, good podcast regardless, and that's it. Take care. Bye.
So that was his first one. Would you like to chime in, Brett?
I will not. This is not a retort, Chris. That's a damn good point. I did get a chance to play. I played some Dungeon World, and when I was at Origins, Phil ran his Hydro Hackers, which powered by the Apocalypse. I also, while I was there, I picked up a copy of Urban Shadows, a political urban fantasy, which is another powered by the Apocalypse game. I have a hard copy just showing Sean here over the camera. That I've got a copy of this that I need to read. This one just seems like I think Dungeon World, when I play a dungeon crawling game, I tend to go to D&D. I just do. But Urban Shadows is that kind of, again, political urban fantasy, vampires, darkness, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty much right in my wheelhouse. So I figured I would go ahead and get this. So I'm definitely planning to read this sucker and get it to the table. And I do also have Blades in the Dark. So...
Which is not really powered by the Apocalypse, though.
Not really. But it's another similar. Strike that. I haven't read the damn rules yet. So, but anyhow. So, good point, Sean. Anyhow,
Misdirected Mark just did a show on it, and it is they do clearly define that it certainly has its influences from Powered by the Apocalypse, but it is quite a bit different.
I haven't that episode's in my podcast. I haven't gotten to it yet, but
yeah. It's a good one.
But anyway, I absolutely agree with you. I think there is a cool thing that PBTA games are doing with that. It's not like they're just doing it now, Brett. No, I know they've been doing it for a while. I'm just not on that boat yet. So I bought this one as kind of my foray into it. Dungeon World was fun when Chris ran it. I had a good time with it, but it doesn't trip my trigger as far as a guy to run the game. This Urban Shadows, though, I think might be right in my wheelhouse.
All right, the next one, he goes into the pre-gens piece. Let's see. Cue that up, baby.
Hey, guys, it's Chris Shorb, dialing 929 Big Dice. I notice you guys don't publicize the phone number anymore, but I thought I'd give you guys a call. I was listening to the the random encounter, then everybody was talking about pre-rolled characters. Everybody zip zaps. And it seemed like everybody was talking about mostly one-shots. I wanted to talk about how I have used pre-rolled characters for campaign play, specifically when I've got new players that play, and I'm thinking actually even more specifically about D&D, give people some pre-rolled characters, and what I basically tell them is, hey, you guys don't know how to play, so I'm going to give you these characters, we're going to play some sessions, and then when you guys level up, whether second, third, fourth level, when you guys level up, you guys can change your characters 100%, with the only caveat really being, if you're going to change your class, you probably want to discuss that with the rest of your party just to make sure you guys feel like your party balance is going to be okay. So just thought I'd throw that into the mix about pre-rolled characters for campaign play. And otherwise, as always, keep up the good work. And I am envious of all those folks who are going to get to go to Gamehole Con this year. I'll be running my own little con the week before, Pine Con. That'll be October 20th through 21st here in LA. Looks like that one's our con is going to sell out, so, which is great for us. But, yeah, I'd love to be able to go to Gamehole the week after. All right. Thanks a bunch. Take care. Bye-bye.
So, go to Pine Con if you're in LA, but going back to the pre-gens for campaign play, the Star Wars beginner boxes are pretty good. So the ones by Fantasy Flight Games, Edge of the Empire, Force and Destiny, and the Rebel one. Shoot. Oh, God. Anyways, somebody's going, the Rebel, whatever. And they know that. Anyways, the Age of the Rebellion. Thank you, Brett.
This is the guy who doesn't like Star Wars. Hey, gotcha.
So those come with NPC kind of like portfolios, and you hand them out, and literally you have the beginning of the character and it explains it's got the side kind of text and tells you what's what. And then you literally run the adventure, and then you tell them to turn the page. And then when you turn the page, that's leveling up, and it tells you what you could allocate to what section. Because they'll be like, yeah. And then it happens again. So it's like it's a probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 page kind of like document. So it's really cool that way, because you could start out with NPC or pre-gens and you give it to the player character. And then when it's time to level up, they'll actually tell you what you can do when you level up, like where to allocate points and how that works. Which is pretty smooth.
Actually, to that point, my middle daughter, Rhiannon, had never played D&D before. She started because when we were up our family's cabin in Upper Michigan over 4th of July, the other kids wanted to play. She's like, sure, I'll play on board. She loved it. So we got back home before the actual 4th of July, and the little kids wanted me to run a game for them. I said, sure. Rhiannon's like, well, I'll play. Do I have to make a character? So I went, printed off a pre-gen off of the WotC site. She's like, this'll work. And she's like, she just want to get in and do something different. So kind of, to Chris's perspective, she really doesn't know jack about the game system itself quite yet. But she's getting into it, and those pre-gens were a really good way to just kind of give her something that she could get rolling with right out of the gate without having to do a lot of homework.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks everybody for emailing us, commenting on Google Plus and the social medias, and then also for Chris Shorb calling in. If you want to leave a voicemail, 929-BIG-DICE. I'd recommend shooting for like the minute and a half time frame, because then make it pretty succinct, because
it cuts off on you.
A sweet spot.
Yeah,
it does cut off on you. Chris has noticed that.
Chris has found that.
Chris like, shit.
Goblin's Henchman had that happen to him once too, I think.
Oh, that's right, Goblins. Yeah.
And as you can already tell, that we're over half hour in. Sean and I haven't gotten to the main topic yet, so it takes a while sometimes. Anyway, speaking of,
all right, Brett, what are we talking about this week?
So this is going to Michael Drescher. He had emailed us. He said about his weekly Fate Core game. Speaking of guys who knows Fate, set in his dystopian underground bunker owned by corporations. They saved a large swath of people, so on and so forth. The PCs begin with no skills or abilities to represent amnesia. As they try to do things, they fill in their skills from the top rating down. The idea being their best skill would, of course, be the first thing they try as their memory slowly come back. Groups being hunted, pushed around by supposed resistance efforts. There's threats from guilds, a lot of political intrigue, deception, alliances. It's a suppressive environment designed to emulate an atmosphere of being lost, confused, and, of course, dystopia. All that said, Michael is asking, when does confused players stop being good story setting emulation and start being a drag on the player's good time? And he kind of, do you pull a plug on the mysteries and intrigue? It's a tempestuous world with many faces. What are your thoughts about it? And this is a thing I've struggled with a little bit over the years. That sometimes it's when you're the one doling out the clues in any kind of mystery or digging around an investigative type game, it's kind of fun to throw that out there and go, tee hee hee, they haven't quite put it together yet. Ha 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 ha. You get the gleeful laughter. You get to do the Monty Burns from The Simpsons, ha ha ha. You don't know what's going on thing. However, that does wear thin sometimes, and sometimes we do need to pull the curtain back. So, Sean, let me ask you this. What do you think is there's no right answer, but what would you say is the difference between like a mysterious plot versus mysterious things? And by things, I mean like monsters, a trap, or something like that. Because I think the route here that Drescher's getting to, Michael's talking more about a mysterious plot elements and not necessarily, as you and I have talked about, the mystery or the wonderment of like, I don't know that that's a kobold. All I know is it's a small, scaly humanoid thing that's eating babies, because kobolds eat babies, especially in Brett's world.
Well, right. There's a game that's called that.
Exactly. Kobolds ate my baby. There we go.
Right. Stolen from Brett.
From my
dirty
just
bastard.
these swaths of dead babies my games have left behind them. Kobolds had to eat something. Anyway, so do you see a big difference between that being like a mysterious plot being or mysterious thing?
Yes.
Well, carry on. Tell me more.
So the mysterious things is that they at least present themselves. You just don't know what the hell they are. And then they may throw you off a little bit and make you wonder, make you maybe instill some emotion like fear, because you don't know what the monsters are, but they are in front of you. They are something you can deal with. They're tangible. You can maybe fight it, kill it, burn it, whatever. But the mystery is unknown. So it's like this thing you can't touch. You don't know what it is. There's nothing tangible to it. It's an ideal, maybe for lack of better words. And so you're trying as a player character to figure out, maybe it's like, well, which way do we go?
Yeah.
With the info that we have, derp.
I mean, even if you take a game like Knights Black Agents where you're fighting vampires, unless your game master is really benevolent and she tells you, oh, by the way, these vampires are aliens and they're affected by pure silver, blah, blah, blah. It's a vampire. There's a plot around the fact to uncover them. How do I kill the fuckers? What do I do? How do I destroy things? And so on. But there's kind of vampires there. The mystery of figuring them out is still really cool. Chris is running a periodic Knights Black Agents game, which I've been in. Chris Nizek, that is. We started it at QCC last year, played again at Origins, and we still aren't totally sure what type of vampires we are up against. Now, that's, again, as Sean said, one level of mystery. But I think you're dead right. I mean, even at some point with the monster, you can say, fuck this, I'm going to attack it, right? You can actually charge that thing head on. Even if it's a trap, you can be like, you know what? I throw the halfling down the hall. Let's see if there's any traps. You can do something to go after a mysterious thing head on, where the mysterious plots, you can't. Not easily.
It's more of a concept-y thing almost. It's, where it's like, and to Michael, I mean, I like his approach to the character generation, and that's going to that's going to create some investment into the characters and the plot and what's going on. But at the same time, when you're dealing with amnesia,
yeah,
then you get this like, what the hell am I doing here? And so it's almost like those movies where the person wakes up They don't know who they are, where they are, and what's going on. And then the plot unfolds because Jason Bourne was like that. So if you read the Bourne series from the books originally, and the movie touches on it as well, he's found in, I don't know where, the south of France or something. He was drowning and he gets pulled out and he doesn't even know who he is. And so then he gets this memory in his flashback, or somebody tries to beat him up and they mention his name. So he takes his name and they mention he gets I don't know. It's some clue that takes him to another point.
Yes. The cool thing though that you bring up with movies, which I'm glad you did, so I didn't have to, but it's a 2-hour movie. Within that 2 hours, we go from, I don't know shit about who I am to, oh, I figured out most of it. And it's doled out in decent increments. Those movies where we're like, Jesus Christ, come on. That's what I think Michael's talking about here, is the frustration, the burnout, players just fucking wanting to quit, or you wanting to quit because no one's taking it anywhere. If you drag it out too long, and I think the question is, what is too long? Right? Because if I have this wonderful dystopian world that's supposed to be tense, and you've got amnesia, and you're trying to figure out different problems, and if you're running an apocalypse world game, and you're like, well, there's the different moves you can do, trying to do different things, trying to figure out how this functions, and say, well, I do X. You don't name the move in apocalypse world. You say a thing, as you and I were talking about this last weekend, and then you kind of determine what the move you'd roll and so on. But as you're going through that, you're trying and you're sorting things out. I think it's incumbent on the game master then to start giving out juicy bits of information, and you really, really need to be able to read your table. Where if I give out something, oh, this is a choice, chunky bit that, oh my God, Sean's going to totally dig on this, and I give it to him, he goes, I don't know what the fuck to do with that. He looks just as blank at me as he did at the beginning. I may have to pull. If you go back to when I've talked about investigations on the show, when you and I have talked about it before, is sometimes you have to say, now, remember all the pieces you've been given. If you put those together, what does that give you? It's not that you want to lead the players by the nose, per se, but if they're really and truly stumped and stymied, not everybody digs not knowing what the fuck is going on for an extended period of time. My buddy Lenny, he could play an entire game where he didn't know shit about what was happening. His character would live absolutely in the moment. He would not care. I think one other person who could do that. Nobody else likes that I've ever met.
And one example, and to touch on that, is we all have that person, friend, family member, whatever, that you sit and watch a TV show with a movie and they don't see things coming. You see it from a mile away. So my wife's a perfect example. We'll sit there and we'll watch something and I'll go, oh my God, I can't believe that's the husband. And she'll look at me as if I spoiled the entire movie. Even though the hints in the show would be kind of obvious to many people, to her, it's not there. You're muted again, Brett. God damn it.
I was just trying to decide. I'm trying to decide. I was actually thinking to myself, do I tell him that he just called his wife dense, or do I just wait until I see Tam next? No. I'll just keep that private.
Oh my God. It's not what I'm saying.
No, I know. And the other piece is that depending on the story that's happening too.
I can't believe you just called my wife dense.
I don't know. I'm just picking up what you're putting down.
You're going to have to go to blows, dude.
I know. Anyway, that'd be funny when I get my ass kicked. That'd look hilarious. Anyway, depending on the type of story too, some people have different levels of investment, and that's where if you have players who think in Michael's idea of hey, it's this crazy dystopian future, and some people are really desperately into that, and other people are well, I'm playing because they just like to play, and they're kind of digging it. It's kind of like your wife or even some of my kids are oh, I want to watch this movie, but they're kind of half watching it, and they're just picking up big cues. Some of the subtleties are lost on them for whatever reason. Sometimes you're distracted because of work, family, kids, a dog just shit on the carpet, whatever the problem is. I got a new puppy, so that's a thing that happens in my house. Anyway, that you're going to have that player who looks at you and is you thought that was a big reveal? Oh, it's your mom. And you're who fucking cares? It's this. What does that mean? Well, don't you remember 5 sessions back when I alluded to the person who did this? You're I have no clue about what that is, dude. or I miss that subtle hint you gave me. Even if you think you hit them with a hammer, it's too subtle. So I guess, for me, I think I have a mental rule of thumb that at the end of every session, the players should feel like they've gained some ground. Even if that ground gaining is like, look, we've amassed twice as many clues as we had before. We're still not positive that all equals something, or what it all equals, but we know it's important. Everything in this bucket of clues is critical to us being able to figure out the problem. We haven't been able to put it together yet, which is one of the beauties of Gumshoe. I haven't been able to put it all together yet, but I got a fuck ton of clues in this bucket. How do I do it? Then even if they have amnesia and the different clues are putting together, at the end of the session, you kind of have that wrap-up piece where they're able to lay out what they've learned and help them. I think it's sometimes a little DM fiat where you need to step in and say, and what have we learned? How about this? Again, if your players need that. And I don't know your players, and then nor does Sean, but I think that's the thing I like to do. Sean, what do you think about that?
Well, one other approach that you could take is you don't plot it all out, as you would want it and see it. So you have an approach and you present it to the players, but the players may not think the exact same way you do, and they will come up with some goofy thing. They will come up with their own conclusion. And what you could do is just say, yep, that you're absolutely right.
I've done that. I have done that. Have you done that?
And you can go, oh my God, I can't believe you can't. So in your mind, you could say, I can't believe they came up with that. Sounds like a good plan. Go with it. Or you can just say, you know what? You just sit there and smile and nod. Yeah. And they'll be like, I knew it. And you're like, that wasn't where you were going as a game master. But to them, it's like, oh my God, I figured it out.
It's actually a really cool, you saying that makes me think of this, that it's like this really cool sandbox opportunity. Talk about group world building in a way, right? Where the group looks at you, and when they throw something that is super sexy, because I'm on a roll, I'm going to keep saying that tonight. When you throw that super sexy thing out there as players, and the game master would almost be a fool to not try to take it and work it in. It might be a time we go, okay, nice, good concept. Hey, Smoke, if you got them, I got to take a 5-minute break. We're going to order some pizza or whatever you do. It might be time to take a break and just look at the plot you had or the thoughts in your head, bullet point list, fully detailed, however it is you do your thing, and then saying, wow, that was fucking cool. How do I take that thing that Sean and Ange and Eileen just came up with? How do I make that as part of this? And even if you don't necessarily know at the moment, take that 2 seconds, make that note. Sean, Ange, Eileen had kick-ass idea, get Zave's character tied into this somehow, ? Move on. And then use that stuff that they're giving you, because when they really don't know and they're trying to figure things out, players are grasping, looking, they're trying to draw ends together, and players will make some amazing, screwed up conspiracies for you to grab onto, and to some mysteries for them to unravel, and directions if you pay attention to what they're throwing at you. I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, I think despite my demeanor for plotting the lives of player characters as a game master, I think it's only, I think it's one of probably the bigger shortcomings of game masters. Like, if you have it all planned out, you may come up short, or it may not go the way you want, and then you might get frustrated. But I think if you go into something like, I have no idea, I'm going to come up with a general concept, I have no idea where the players are going to go with it, and you're able to roll with it, especially with the mystery piece, and let them come up with those weird conclusions no matter how they do it, dude, it is going to be gold. Now, as a game master, you have to be reactive to that. But if you can adapt, they will lose their freaking minds and think it's the greatest campaign they've ever played in. I guarantee it.
And you don't have to do... So if you have a long campaign planned and you're a little more of a planner, which is, again, totally legitimate way to do it, you may need to, if you've never done that before and it's a little nerve-wracking or you're not sure how, don't be afraid to start small. Have a subplot within it. Have a little piece where you can play like that. I think there is a portion where, as Michael asked us, when does the confused players stop being good story emulation and being a drag? I think the answer to that is when they never get any goddamn answers.
Right. You're gonna freaking know.
I could tell my wife was watching the TV show Lost, and at a certain point, she was getting so pissed off because she could not get any fucking answers. It was driving her bananas. Never seen the show. Don't care. I know what the ending is because she told me.
Because she was pissed.
Because she was pissed. She told me the ending. Anyway, it's almost X-Files-y in a way too, kind of at the tail end of the season and stuff where people got cranky. Anyhow, point being,
God, they fucked that. They fucked that show up. They really did.
They really did.
I really got into it, and then I got my wife into it, and they fucked it.
And then you just felt so sad.
What are you doing, Abrams and you dickheads?
Why are you breaking everything?
They had so much potential. They fucked it all up.
Anyway, I think I don't pull the plug on a mystery and intrigue, like say done. What's cool though is at a certain point, even if the players don't know everything, I don't ever pull a plug and say, well, you now know everything. And that's never a goal of mine. My goal with a mystery or an intrigue like this is that the players uncover enough to become effective to do what it is that they need to do. And if it's
point them in the right, get them in the right direction.
If it's self-directed, like, hey, we want to, they figure, and to Sean's point, they take a sharp left and they want to destroy the prince of the city and become the vampire lords of Chicago. Okay. You got enough data to do it. Off you go. I do like to do postmortems after a game sometimes and say, hey guys, you never looked at this. And somebody will say, holy shit, that's right. I totally forgot to look at that. Damn, that would be cool. Well, maybe next time. But from a guideline, I think at the end of every session, the group, all of them, because they're all kind of through this mysterious plot and intrigue and being confused, everything should get a little clearer, a little more clear. And it's corny to say, but it's absolutely true, is every group's definition of what feels a little more clear is going to be different based on your players. But that's damn near as good to some groups as handing out, you get 1,000 experience points. Oh my God, yay, we leveled up. It's just about as good in what I consider a more story-based game or narrative-y game when you advance, you feel as players that I can advance the plot further now because I know more to take the next steps. If at the end of the session they're looking at you like, I have no idea where to go next. We don't even know what to fucking do now. You maybe should have dribbled out a couple more clues. And don't be afraid to do a little GM fiat if you need to. Have them make a skill roll. Well, you do have investigation skill. Sean, give me an investigation roll. See if you can pull some of these disparate components together. Eileen, give me a shot here. Hey, Chris, remember what your character meant when he talked to Vlad? Oh, yeah. Don't be afraid to drop those hints out there to those players so that they can work that stuff together. I think it's a way to help them end the session and not feel like they just barely know what's going on. Because again, that's fun for a little bit, but after a while, I'd like to have a fucking clue so I can actually make some actions that seem like they mean something. Not everybody's into the whole, like my buddy Lenny and some of my group, not everybody likes a anticlimax.
Yeah. No, that's good. I hope that helped, Michael. Let us know if we're in the ballpark or not, or if you, as a listener, have dealt with kind of the mystery thing and divulging some of that, what your approach is. Maybe you have a set amount of clues as the party goes along. You're always going to give no matter what. It's not going to require skill checks. It's just going to be automatically given to the folks. Whatever that looks like, let us know.
I think as a quick capper here, this just came to me, is I know Michael was talking more campaigny, but there's another level of confusion that can happen when I've read some really cool DCC adventures, and sometimes they have puzzles in them. And some of the OSR games have those things. There's one adventure where you have to do something with a whole bunch of corpses in order to gain access to a thing. Well, my group was messing with that. They forgot the big clue I gave them at the beginning. I repeated the clue, I shit you not, 5 times. Count them, 5 times. They all freaking forgot it. And by the time they got there, I'm like, fuck, somebody give me an intelligence roll to see when you jackasses remember what I told you 5 times. I even told you to write it down. Anyway, all jokes aside, the point though is sometimes things are missed. People screw something up, they make a mistake or whatever, and even if it's not a complete campaign component, sometimes it's just that one puzzle where they look at you and they're like, I don't know how to get past the Sphinx. I don't know that riddle. I don't know what to do here. All our die rolls have failed. What do you want me to do, Sean? God damn it, what do I do? That level, you don't want to get to that level of panic and confusion either, and I think that's a little more immediate tactical, and what Mike was looking at was more overarching plotty. So, Michael, if we hit it, as Sean said, let us know. If we missed it and you're looking for something better, let us know, and we'll try to get better for you, brother.
We'll recommend another podcast.
Or if we have to.
Oh, man. Die roll.
Die roll time.
Die roll. Die roll. All right, Brett.
All right. Mutant Crawl Classics by Goodman Games. There is a license available. My assumption is guys like Forrest Aguirre and the Glowburn folks are the people who are totally into this. Mutant Crawl Classics RPG third-party publisher license is now available, which is pretty goddamn cool. I love I like Goodman Games. I've had a chance to talk with Joseph Goodman at Gary Con and just hang out with the DCC people. We've talked about this before. That crew is just an amazing crew of folks. They love their game. They're super passionate about it. And the third-party support that Goodman Games gives out to, like our friends at Purple Sorcerer, I mean, it's just awesome. So this is one more really cool thing.
Yep. Classic Traveler online character generator.
Does it kill you?
You know what? I don't know how many times you have to refresh to see if you get a killed character. Maybe it only gives you the survived ones. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it gives you one that dies. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Classic Traveler, there's a career path, kind of life path character generation, and it's one of the few systems where you can actually die in character generation. So that's what Brett's alluding to. Second one, any award nominations 2017 have been announced. Congratulations to all the nominees for 2017. We did not make the list for podcast, Brett.
Did we submit anything, Sean?
I did not.
I thought you were going to do that. Oh, every fucking year. Yeah.
God damn it, Brett.
I'll tell you what, though.
Spellburn.
Spellburn.
Yeah, Spellburn.
And we love.
I think Jen. Yeah. Is Jen on that show now?
Yeah, Judge Jen is on there.
Yeah.
We love Judge Jen and all the awesomeness that is Spellburn. So, you know,
Ken and Robin, some guys out of Canada, one guy from Chicago are on there. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They've been on there for like the last 3 years and nominated.
With their Barely a Gaming podcast. Yeah, that one. I love their podcast, but yeah. Anyhow, when I see Ken next time, he'll punch me right in the face. Anyhow.
Well, that's something you could drop that everywhere you go then, Brett.
Yeah, I could do that. Can
I punch me in the face?
And I've got a record now because Monty Cook dropped me down last Gamehole Con, and now Ken Knight did. So hey, I'm getting my ass kicked by game designers across the country.
So it's some of Brett's highlights.
Yes, it is.
All right,
anyway,
listeners,
congrats to the nominees and all that good stuff.
All right, listeners, I will alternate. Mark Tasaka let us know about his Dungeon Crawl Classics randomly generated 0-level funnel. So in Dungeon Crawl Classics, the funnel is everybody rolls up random characters. It's usually 3 to 6 down the line. That's what you get. You're 0 level. You have like 1 to 4 hit points, and your weapon is a rolling pin, a pitchfork, hammer, all kinds of crazy shit. So he created an adventure called The King's Challenge, and there's a launch page. We'll have a link in the show notes. The dungeon map, rune descriptions, encounters, treasure, etc. are randomly generated. creating a unique play experience each time the character funnel is run, making it a great funnel for store, demo games, convention games, etc. So check that out. Thank you so much, Mark, for not just supporting the show, but also, contributing to the gaming community.
Absolutely. One of the coolest parts is the whole do-it-yourself thing that gaming does. No matter what game, whether it's the quote-unquote trad, quote-unquote indie, whatever the hell you're playing, there's always some really cool stuff out there because guys like Mark Tasaka are doing cool shit. So, Michael Parker pointed out the DCC, speaking of DCC, scratch-off character sheets on Kickstarter. They talked about this at GaryCon in March. I remember Joseph Goodman holding up saying, "Hey, this is an idea," and everyone went, "Oh my God, that's so cool." And the Kickstarter's funded. It ends July 25th, so this will drop July 11th, so you still got some time to get in on it. It's one of those things, if you're a DCC collector, it's one of those things you're going to want to have an unscratched sheet somewhere in your DCC collection. And if you're a DCC gamer, talk about a fun way to run a funnel at a convention. If you want to get in on that, that could just be a hoot. So anyway, very good stuff. And
a very good gift.
Oh, hell yeah.
I know I bought in relatives like lottery cards and like, here you go. Here's $20 a lotto. Go nuts with the scratch off.
That could
buy
be,
these for like gamer
fun.
Friends, man. They'll go ape shit on this stuff.
Yeah, gamer Christmas, man. That's a good way to go. I like that.
There you go. Stocking stuffer.
There you are. Oh, look at you thinking ahead to the holidays.
I'm always Michael Parker. Thanks for supporting the show. Another patron of ours chiming in. Eli Kurtz. Holy cow. It's like a whole slew of patrons this week. Shares behind the scenes info about his The Blackwood Kickstarter. So Savage World setting that Eli had done. Fantasy meets wuxia. And that's successfully funded, and he elaborates a little bit about behind the scenes, the numbers, and some of the observations he had about his Kickstarter. So if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about that, he pulls the curtain aside and gives you some insight.
Very cool stuff. And Jared Rasher, well, you mentioned him before, and he's back again. He suggested a book series by Paul S. Kemp. He says, I just wanted to share this series in case anyone here hasn't run across them before. After listening to The Streets of Avalon, thank you again, Jared, for listening. It seems particularly relevant thematic recommendation. Very obviously inspired by Fafhrd and Mauser. There's a bit more modern sensibility in the lead characters, like wondering about repercussions to their actions from time to time. Lots of banter, lots of city-based adventuring, and many adult-oriented situations. While the individual books are self-contained, the events of the books are chronological and more directly chained from the previous books than the Lankmar books, as an example. Kemp was one of Jared's favorite authors for a while. He did a lot of Forgotten Realms stuff, and Star Wars novels were supposed to be some pretty good reads as well. He definitely likes his rogues, assassins, and morally questionable protagonists, but still has them wonder why they do the things they do from time to time. So, Hammer and Blade is the first one. It's the Egil and Nyx series. I saw this and went, all right, Rasher's a good guy. I know him. So I went out and grabbed The Hammer and the Blade, A Tale of Egil and Nyx. I have the audiobook, and it's fucking hilarious. It is awesome. It's got these wonderful, just goofy moments. It has some great D&D, very adventure-feeling stuff. It's a very good swords and sorcery type of game. I love it. It has a lot of what I wanted to put into Avalon, that type of feel and so on. It has a lot of that. Of course, different setting and so forth, but it's damn good stuff. Thank you, Mr. Rasher, for suggesting that because I love it.
Yeah, thanks. And another patron of the show.
Absolutely.
So it's like the quafecta this week. Thank you, everybody, for writing in. Thanks for the die rolls. One thing, so next week we do not have a topic planned as of yet. One of the things I'd mentioned to Brett that we want to do, is how some people in the gamosphere that may not be publishers necessarily, but are doing good work to promote gaming, to promote the betterment of society through gaming. We know some people in our community that are doing that. James Walls, I don't think he listens to us, but we know him, and he runs a lot of DC stuff. He's on the Glowburn podcast with Forrest Gary. And then we also know that the Pure Mongrel is doing that in Australia, doing some really good stuff with kids. And so Stacey Delafano is doing stuff with Contessa. And so we are looking for suggestions on who else we may want to contact, and maybe we'll do. We don't know if we're going to have them all on the show at the same time. I mean, we haven't even brought this up to their attention. So if they're listening to this, they'll be like, "Whoa, I didn't even know." But maybe we can tap that, because it's certainly something we want to put out there, and because I think some people are aware that some of these folks are doing some good work, and some people may not be. And so I know even Mo does like the, the 24 hours of 48 hours of gaming, and the Children's Network for hospitals. And
we've had a number of things over the couple of years we've been doing this, almost 150 episodes now. I've had a number of people saying, "Hey, I've got a charity thing," or even EverCon, we have an auction, and GameholeCon has an auction for charity, and so on. So there's some cool shit that gamers do. And I still will tell you, I think gamers are some of the most generous men and women I've met. I mean, just hanging out with people at a convention, and it's so nice, honestly. I mean, good gamers are some of the best damn people I've ever met. So,
yeah, well, it helps.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you don't want to be in a hobby full of assholes.
No, not really.
Well, and if you're in the hobby
and you're an asshole, get out.
And somebody tells you it's full of assholes, take a look around, I guess. I don't know. Anyway.
But to Sean's point, it would be great to try to get some folks on. I know scheduling can be a complete pain in the ass for a number of people. It's not always easy to get folks on the show. But if you have some ideas, even if it's just even if we can just kind of collate a list of really cool shit people are doing and post links and stuff, that would be nice, because there's some really nice stuff that people are doing out there. So,
yeah, we'll reach out if you want to give us a suggestion, like, oh, hey, you absolutely got to know this person and what they're doing. It's really cool stuff. We'd love to give them a little bit of exposure. We'll probably bring them on the show, and I don't know what people can do or what people are doing. I think it's just more exposure than anything, and letting people know.
Yep. All
right. Well, super. Thanks for tuning in. This one's in the bag. The bag of
holding.
There you go. Hey. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
I'm Brett. Good night and good game and all.
This episode of Gaming and BS brought to you with the help from the following patrons: Christian Sexy Voice Serrano, Kevin Lovecraft, Joe Swick, Brett's Biggest Fan, Jeff Rademacher, Forrest DeGary, Mark Anthony Benedetti, Eric Jeppesen, Andy Hall, Shaw Nicholson, Tim Jensen, Knights of the Night Crew, Palladian, Remy Bilodeau, Jason Hobbs, Wayne Humphrey, James Carpio, Not Caprio, Pure Mongrel, Lord Tentacle, Corey Johnston, Eric Tankar, Brandon Barnes, Mark DeSaka, Tim Shorts, Dan LaValle, CW Mellencamp, Craig Huber, Eli Kurtz, The Lost Sailor, Graham Miner, Todd McGowan, Roger Braslett, Misdirected Mark Productions, Old School DM, Jason, Christopher Gray, Finolf, Ray Otis, Merkel Froelich, Eileen Barnes, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Todd Crapper, Michael Parker, Jim Fitzpatrick, Michael Drescher, Wiz Static, Alexander Auerbach, Rodrigo Beowulf, Neil Benson, Ron Blessing, Evan Harrison Cass, Chris Steele, Eric the Hoffman, Jared Rasher, Stefan Dragonspawn, Soldiers of Misfortune RPG, and Christopher Lang. For the cost of a coffee shop coffee, you can support the show for an entire month. Consider going over to gamingandbs.com/Patreon. That's Patreon. Thanks, patrons. Thanks, listeners. This has been a Litterbox Studio production.